Okay, guys. Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everybody. So today we are going to continue regarding our lecture on topic 3 of real estate agency. So today we are going to look on the aspect of how to handle potential problems before closing the transaction. So basically, an overview of the topic for today is for you to avoid problems. You as an agent, you should have these three main things that is necessary for you to conduct the closing of the transaction, whereby the first item is of course the checklist of the property that you are trying to close, whether you are trying to sell or even trying to buy on behalf of your principal. And number two is the marketing program, and lastly is your own ability to handle the sale or the negotiation of the transaction. Okay, so for the checklist of the property, we have a lot of things. We have a lot of things that we need to look first before we close the transaction. Number one is the full name of the vendor. Of course, for the full name of the vendor, uh, you have to check. You have to check, meaning maybe you have to ask a copy of their identification card, IC. So there is no issue of whether the vendor or even the buyer or even the potential buyer is not someone as they say who they are. Meaning, let's say if their full name is Hilmi Masri, then it cannot become another name. So they give you the correct names based on the IC. So this is important as because if there is any dispute, of course, we want to have the full name, the IC number, and also the address of the participants in the transaction. Okay, so number two is the address of the property. So this is an important aspect of estate agency work, as for us to ascertain the correct address of the property, you must get the address from credible sources. So you can't just rely on the addresses being given by the vendor or even by the potential buyer. So this address, in practice, usually we check through the local authorities. So if let's say you have number 50 Taman Trono University 31750, so you have to check with the local authority of Majlis Daerah Batu Gajah. So you have to look where the property is located and what is the local authority that is governing this particular set of properties. So if you are located, your property is located in Kuala Lumpur, then of course you have to check with DBKL. So usually to check the address, you have to go to the Department of Valuation and Property Management or Property Services, and you have to pay for a specific uh, quick rent copy. So quick rent copy will give you the full and correct address of the property. So it's very important because this is the address. This is the item that will be located also inside the sale and purchase agreement or document. Okay, and the next thing is the title. The title, whether it's a freehold or leasehold. So of course, when we state about freehold or leasehold, it makes a quite big difference in terms of the value of the property. So of course we know the best type of property is of course freehold, which means grant ataupun dia tulis dalam tu is forever and ever, selama-lamanya. Untuk leasehold ni it is pajakan lah, 99 years, 60 years, 30 years, or even you find leasehold of 999 years. For 999 years is as good as a freehold. When you conduct the valuation, is as good as a freehold. Untuk selama-lamanya jugalah, 1000 tahun. But usually, you will find the 99 years only. Okay, so the title means you have to get the copy of the title also. So if you cannot get a hold of the copy from the vendor or even from the potential buyer, so maybe you have to go to the land office and get a copy. It's about 50 or 60 ringgit per copy, and maybe you can put this under the disbursement charge that you can claim back afterwards. Okay, so it's very important to ascertain all of this information correctly. Okay, and of course, afterwards we look at the description of the property, whether it's a single story terrace house, a double story terrace house, a semi-detached house, bungalow. Bungalow is called a detached house, an apartment, a condominium, a low cost apartment. So there's a lot of description of properties, and then you must be able to describe them properly. So there is no confusion. If you are saying a single story terrace house, is not going to be confused with a semi-detached. So you as a real estate professional, of course, you must be able to distinguish this type of property already. And so if you cannot distinguish these types of property, then it's going to be a major problem for you and also for the participants of the transaction, because you don't know the type of property. You confuse yourself with the single story terrace houses with the semi detached. So it's a very big no in the services that we have to give them. And then afterwards we look at the construction of the property. So if you have the information, maybe you can refer towards the previous sale and purchase agreement, or even the memorandum of transfer from the developer towards the principal, and then you can look what type of material being used, the roofing material, the brick materials, the even the paint themselves, because for a potential buyer they will ask everything regarding the property. Dia guna, let's say dia tanya, rumah ni guna cat apa, pakai weatherproof ke tidak, ni cat ni kenapa nampak kusam dan sebagainya, dan kenapa rumah ni rasa panas dan sebagainya. So kena beritahu, di rumah ni ada pakai ceiling asbestos, rumah ni dia pakai brick pasir sahaja, bukan brick merah, batu merah yang lebih sejuk dan sebagainya. So that kind of material of the construction of the property dictates the quality of the property themselves. Okay, and then age and condition of property, of course, you have to look at the building itself. If you are looking at the building of the house, then you must be able to estimate when was this house being completed. If it's completed in 2015, it's already 2020, then of course the age of the house of the or the building will at least be 5 years. So if we know in economic terms, for a good house structure, they will have an economic life of about 60 years. So you have a remaining of 55 years. So you have to deduct the first 5 years. Sebab kita tahu rumah dan bangunan dan sebagainya, kalau dia dah dibina, of course dia akan ada deterioration rate, di mana dia ni terdedah kepada hujan, terdedah kepada panas, terdedah kepada ribut. Kalau di luar negara tu mungkin ada 4 seasons, adanya salji dan sebagainya. So keadaan sesebuah bangunan tersebut tidak akan sama seperti pada mula ianya siap dibina. Sebuah bangunan yang besar macam office tower pun akan ada deterioration, dari segi catnya, dari segi mechanical seperti dia punya lift, seperti dia punya elevator dan sebagainya. So itulah sebab kenapa kita perlu bagi tahu potential buyer what is the age and also the condition of the property, whether it's being kept in a good state, a fair state, or even a poor state. Okay, afterwards is the accommodation or layout plan. Of course you must know, kalau you are talking about house, of course you need to know at least how many numbers of bedrooms there are. So it's important for people to know. Kita nak tahu berapa bilik because kita nak accommodate kita punya family. Kita punya family ada 7 orang. So 7 orang takkan nak beli sebuah rumah yang cuma ada 2 bilik. Of course we need more rooms than that to accommodate everybody. So you kena tahu berapa banyak bilik, berapa banyak bilik air, berapa store, dia punya ruang tamu, ruang makan dan juga dapur. Dapur ni penting lah untuk kaum-kaum wanita dan juga lelaki juga sebenarnya, penting dapur, because this is especially during MCO like now, so we spend a lot of time cooking at our homes. So the layout plan must be thoroughly known. The ancillary floor area, the outside regions, and then the extra land. So if you are selling a corner or even a semi-detached house, so of course you have the extra land, so you must know the extra land, how much is the extra land available. So if the build up is 1,500 square feet, the extra land, you have to find out whether it's 1,000 square feet, 1,500 square feet more. So this is also an important factor. Okay, the services, facility and supply, this is something that is located in the vicinity of the property, so you must have an overall idea of what is located nearby the area. So if we are talking about Sri Skandar, a house in Sri Skandar, so you can give them a rough idea. Sometimes these people, they are not from Perak or even from the local area. So they might be from Johor, from Kelantan, from Perlis, from Sabah and Sarawak. So they didn't know whether this place have a school, have a fire department, or even a police station. Where's the nearest police station? What is the shopping complexes available. Kalau Sri Skandar ni kita ada, of course lah, you punya favorite kan, The Mall, tapi affectionately known as Billion kan. Tu yang paling besar lah shopping complex kat sini kan. Itu je pun yang ada. Kalau boleh sekarang ni, kalau yang muda-muda ni kan, you beritahu lah dia sini ada Kentucky Fried Chicken, ada McDonald's. Itu very important tu, dia orang nak tahu tu kan, sebab inilah makanan hariannya, breakfast, lunch, dinner kan, makan McDonald's, KFC, Subway. Itu 3 pusing-pusing je. So people wanted to know the university, the colleges, the schools, ada what other than that, the local authority building. So this is a very important aspect. Okay, afterwards we look at the location and address. Like I said before, you have to check with the local authority the land area. So this kind of information, the land area, you can get from the copy of the title. Copy of the title will state, and usually in the copy of title they will state in square meter, not square feet. But people in majority, they will ask in square feet. So you have to know the conversion rate. 10.7 738. So you have to convert. Kalau 130 square meter, berapa banyak square feet. So you kena tahu siap-siap. Okay, the local authority rate, this is also an important factor. So as we know, 4 states besides the state of Johor Darul Takzim. Kalau you from Johor, you patut tahulah. So states from other than that, we use annual value. So kita kan kira berapa percentage daripada annual value property tersebut. So untuk Johor, kita akan gunakan improve value. Improve value ni kenaikan tahunan sesebuah property. Kalau kenaikan tahunan sedikit saja, persentasenya pun dia akan kira daripada kenaikan yang sedikit itulah. Selain daripada itu, annual value, untuk annual value kita akan kira berapa banyak rate sewaan yang boleh dapat daripada property tersebut. Faham ini nanti you akan tengok dalam subjek town planning. Subjek town planning dia akan cerita lebih banyak mengenai local authority rates ni. Rate ni berbeza-beza. Tak semua rate sama. Kalau rumah lain, commercial lain, industri lain, Rizab Melayu lain, tanah perkuburan lain. Tanah perkuburan pun kena juga local authority rate. Jangan ingat tak kena. Tapi dia punya rate tu rendah sajalah. Kalau annual value rumah tu 5%, mungkin tanah perkuburan ni dia ambil 0.5%. Just for the sake of ensuring proper services being given. So sebab local authority rate ni is very important to be paid as because of all the services that the local authority going to give you. They will give you road maintenance, they will give you the street lights, they will give you the garbage collection, tangkap anjing, tangkap kucing, kucing pun kena tangkap. Selalu orang komplain anjing kan, tapi kucing pun sebenarnya boleh kena tangkap jugalah kan, kalau you biar dia berlari-lari di luar sebagainya. So ini adalah services-services di mana local authority ni perlu beri kepada anda, dan anda in return we have to pay the rates, the quit rents to them. Okay, and then of course we have to look at the local amenity and the facility at the neighborhood itself. Dekat taman tu sendiri. Kat taman tu kalau kita tengok residential home tu, taman tu apa yang penting kita nak tengok. Kita nak tengok, of course dia nak tengok dia punya playground, taman permainan. Lepas tu ada ke tidak fasiliti-fasiliti lain, seperti laluan pejalan kaki, laluan jogging, laluan berbasikal, ada ke tidak surau, ada ke tidak gereja, ataupun tokong. Tapi in development approval in Malaysia, usually they make it mandatory to have musola. Musola is the surau lah, of course lah. At least kena minimum ada surau. Untuk gereja, kuil, tokong dan sebagainya, mungkin tidak dimasukkan dalam development proses. Sebab itulah you tengok biasa tokong, kuil, gereja dan sebagainya dia ada separate private property themselves. Okay. The agent's valuation, agreed asking price. Of course, you must like we discussed earlier in the contract. So kalau you kata 500,000 ringgit, then is 500,000 ringgit. Have to be paid in 2 weeks time. Tak boleh jadi 3 weeks, 1 month, 1 year. So that is a recipe for a binding contract. So a binding contract is very important as because it's going to be enforceable in the court of law. Afterwards, we look at the fixture and fittings of the property. Kalau dalam property tu ada apa, sebab ada beza-bezanya. Kadang-kadang dalam property ni kita dah buat cantik-cantik, dalam dia kita dah pasang downlight, kita dah pasang chandelier. Kalau you compare chandelier dengan lampu fluorescent light, lampu yang Kalimantan tu saja, then of course there are going to be difference in value. You beli chandelier 5,000 ringgit dengan you beli lampu Kalimantan 50 ringgit. Sekarang banyak beza 5,000 dengan 50 ringgit. So ini akan mempengaruhi value of the property dan juga preference of the potential buyer. So of course kalau saya sebagai potential buyer, saya tengok rumah yang hampir sama dan sebagainya, tapi rumah ni ada chandelier, rumah ni pakai lampu Kalimantan saja. So of course I will prefer the one with the chandelier. So if it's a very good chandelier. Other than that is of course feature and fitting ni termasuklah pipe-nya. Kalau ada kolam renang lagi bagus lah, of course lah, tapi you have to pay a lot more lah on the property. Okay. Afterwards, you need also to have a for sale board. But this depends. This depends actually. Whether if you have a tenant, then of course you have to ask the tenant whether they agree or not to put up a sales board. So if you don't have any tenants, then of course it's going to be okay. So for a sale board states that this property is for sale and people passing through and they can state, oh rumah ni nak jual rupanya kan. Rumah cantik-cantik apa semua rupanya dia nak jual. Tapi sebabnya apa kita nak ada sale board ni, even though we have social media, is because sometimes buyers they are from the local area, and they are seeking for another investment or even a better home in their own vicinity. So lebih baik tiba-tiba rupa-rupanya potential buyer tu jiran sebelah tu. Jiran sebelah tu berminat nak beli rumah. Sebab apa? dia nak ada 2 biji rumah yang dia boleh bersambungkan. Dia boleh buat connecting door di tengah-tengah rumah tu. Ataupun ada yang lebih drastik lagi, dia runtuhkan dinding di tengah-tengah tu, dia jadikan rumah dia lebih besar, 2 kali ganda. Okay, so you have to be you have to know, you penting untuk you tahu kenapakah benda-benda ini diletakkan. Not just for the sake of putting there, but you must know the reasons why we put up this kind of things. Okay, and then we have to, of course, the photograph. Photograph tells 1,000 story. Biasa kita dengar kan, satu gambar tu menceritakan macam-macam perkara. Daripada gambar tu macam-macam kita boleh tengok. Kita boleh tengok segala fixture, fitting, keadaan rumah dan sebagainya melalui gambar. Sebab tu kalau kita nak beli apa-apa kan, kalau kita nak beli barang sekalipun dekat Shopee, Lazada dan sebagainya, of course, the first thing that we do is look at the photograph, whether it's the correct property, whether it's a correct item or not. And then kalau kita rasa the photograph show that the item is quite good and everything, and we have already make up our mind, then of course we have the possibility to purchase that particular item. Okay, the agency terms are, of course, we have to look through the documents that the vendor have already signed, whether they appoint you on exclusive agency, sole agency, joint agency, or even co-agency. So you have to look, and then you have also to explain to them the terms and condition that is available towards your services. Kalau tak, nanti vendor ni dia expect you to do everything for him or her, sampai suruh cat rumah, sampai bersihkan bilik air, jamban, potong rumput sebagainya. Kadang-kadang tu, of course lah, dia kata dia pay you the services kan, tapi pay you services as an estate agency, bukan sebagai seorang hamba abdi kan, bagi makan je kan, suruh buat semua benda. Okay, vendor solicitor, of course, kena tahu siapakah bakal-bakal solicitor yang bakal dilantik, dan you have to know and have some networking with the solicitor, because you will be working with them. The solicitor will ask you informations regarding the property. So this is important for them to draft up the sales and purchase agreement, and then this kind of information must be obtained correctly. Okay, making and date the time to view the houses, of course, this is your responsibility, because the vendor is not going to handle this, you as the estate agent going to handle. So the potential buyers will contact you, beritahu kat you, WhatsApp, rumah ni masih lagi untuk dijual kah? Kalau masih lagi untuk dijual, saya nak datang view. Tu kalau nak datang view tu, you kena entertain lah. So ini lah selalunya dalam kita punya profession kan. Usually ini potential buyer ni, of course, working hour dia Monday to Friday, and then they have the free time to check the houses tu mungkin Sabtu atau Ahad je. And then of course, as an estate agency, kita kena accommodate lah. Kalau dia kata saya boleh datang Sabtu malam pukul 12 tengah malam, so you have to conduct discussion with the potential buyer lah. Kalau you rasa is very unreasonable, you kena cakap jugalah, apa ni cik 12 tengah malam kan, nak tengok apa rumah ni 12 tengah malam kan, datang awal sikit, Sabtu pukul 11 pagi ke, lebih sesuai. So you kena ada negotiation skill jugalah. Janganlah terima saja segala-gala apa yang potential buyer tu nakkan. Semua ikut dia sampai 2-3 pagi pun, lala tak beli pun. Itu lagilah teruk kan. 2-3 pagi you layan dia, bawa makan, minum, you semata-mata nak make the sale, tapi in the end tak wrap up the sale pun, tak conclude the sale. Lagilah sedih. Keluar habis modal you je. Dulu pun masa saya praktis agensi pun macam tu jugalah. Banyak habis modal ni melayan klien je, bawa makan, bawa minum kan. Sebaiklah tak bawa makan minum mahal sangat. Sampai hotel 5 bintang ke apa ke, bawa makan kedai-kedai biasa je. Lala tak beli pun. Entah-entah dia cuba nak dapat makan free je jalan-jalan dan sebagainya. Tak tahulah. Okay. So prepare sale design styles to project corporate image. Of course, ini dalam banner you tadi, you kena ada you kena ada satu rekaan-rekaan yang menarik lah. Of course kena nampak profesional dan mengikut kepada Malaysian Estate Agency Standard. Ini very important lah. Nampak cantik dan sebagainya tapi kena ikut regulation dia. Tak boleh terlalu bombastic, tak boleh memuji diri sendiri. Number one estate agent in Perak. Other estate agents is not good. I'm number one. So dia tak boleh buat macam tu. Okay, so kena make it professional. So agent should advise on things likely to affect value and saleability, feature and other factor to sell the property. Ni pun ada antara soalan-soalan yang menarik lah. Soalan-soalan yang menarik untuk potential buyer tanya. Dia akan tanya you, apakah resale value? Adakah property ni boleh dapat kenaikan 10% in the market value every year or even just 2%? Kalau 10 tahun dah pegang, daripada 500,000 boleh jual pada 800,000. You kena at least estimate lah, give estimation based on your expertise. Kalau you rasa this residential area doesn't have a lot of prospect, because the sale transaction is very low and then the sale price has not changed in the last 5 years. Itu ada masalah lah. So you kena cerita and then you kena beritahu lah potential value, ada potential value, like the renting ability. So of course sometimes potential buyer they try to buy on investment purposes. Dia duduk KL tapi dia beli rumah dekat Perak. Dia tak ada sedang mahu apa pun di Perak ni sebagainya, tapi dia kata saya nak buat investment di Perak. Tiba-tiba dia dah beli property tersebut dan sebagainya, dia dah bayar kat bank RM1,500 every month on the financing loan, nak sewakan dekat orang RM500 pun tak dapat. So tak ada siapa pun nak sewa. Lagilah teruk. Dia nak buat investment tapi investment dia jatuh. Macam jatuh skim cepat kaya macam tu. Teruk lah macam tu kan. Dia sebaik-baiknya kita type good investment, kita bayar kat bank RM1,000, and then kita boleh dapat daripada tenant from rental ke from our investment RM1,500. So you ada baki duit tiap-tiap bulan daripada property tersebut. Maknanya you ada somebody who pay your property and then you on top of that you get a little bit of profit. So that one is a very good investment. Other than that, is the type of investment nowadays very popular is rent your house for a day. Bukan homestay. Kita duduk cakap homestay kan, tapi sebenarnya homestay ni is a program by Ministry of Tourism. You kalau homestay ni sebetul-betulnya you sebagai tuan rumah, you kena duduk sekali dengan penyewa tu, dengan orang yang menginap tu. Tapi kita banyak gunalah perkataan nak mudahkan. Padahal sepatutnya ayat yang lebih sesuai adalah renting a home for a day or even at least lodging. Sediakan lodging. Sediakan lodging hujung minggu dan sebagainya. Itu pun antara cara kita boleh buat investment tersebut berbaloi. Okay? And afterwards, last but not least, here is you need to consider the pros and cons on the paper. The safety of the property, the appearance, the comfort, the economy, and also the durability. So of course for durability you need to be particular, because different type of property shows different durability of the material. Kalau you kata rumah konkrit, rumah batu, then you have about 60 years of economic life. So for factory is less than that. Untuk kilang-kilang ni biasanya kita akan kira 40 to 45 years only. Sebab factory ni adalah digunakan untuk industri berat. So di mana kegunaan property tersebut lebih lasak, lebih berat dan akan memberi kesan depreciation yang lebih tinggi. Senang kata property ni lebih senang rosak lah, lebih senang jahanam kan. Ada rumah takkan you nak buat penapisan air ke apa ke, dekat ni ada pasang mesin-mesin ada pasang plant and machinery dekat dalam rumah, tak boleh pun daripada segi undang-undang. So rumah ni kita guna dengan baik lah, sebab kita tinggal, kita jaga dia dan sebagainya. Okay, so pro and con on the property on paper and also on the practical aspect. You kena beritahu, you kena ceritakan kepada potential buyer. Okay, and afterwards we look at the marketing program. So agent should advise, like I said before, the marketability advice of the property. You kena estimate berapa kenaikan dia, berapa investment potential dia, apakah type of investment potential available here, the probable asking price, the recommended asking price, the recommended method of sale, whether it's a private treaty, ini yang normal kita pakai, auction ataupun tender. Untuk auction ni usually untuk agent bukan tugas kita lah untuk membuat auction. Mungkin kita ni ditugaskan just untuk handle sesebuah auction. Tapi untuk handle sesebuah auction ni, you kena jadi seorang registered auctioneer in the state. Let's say kalau di negeri Perak, you kena berdaftar dengan kerajaan negeri Perak untuk menjadi seorang pelelong berlesen. Tapi kalau dia tengok you ni dah seorang estate agent, dia tengok you are a professional, then of course your application is going to be much easier. So untuk tender process ni, ni like I said before, is usually reserved for a very high value of property. Macam kita nak cuba jual KLCC, KLCC worth about 10 billion ringgit. So untuk melakukan melalui sale private treaty ni mungkin agak sukar. Bila kita open up tender process, kita boleh dapat lebih banyak prospect buyer, not only from Malaysia but all over the globe. Sebab beli KLCC kan, of course lah, berapa ramai je orang Malaysia ada duit, ataupun company-company Malaysia yang boleh beli KLCC 10 billion ringgit. Mungkin potential investor tu datang daripada luar, datang daripada China, datang daripada Rusia ataupun Amerika Syarikat, ataupun England kan. Tapi I think it's very unlikely for Malaysia to sell KLCC lah. Dan macam trying to sell our crown jewel pula kan. Macam kita ni, kita harga diri kita itulah satu KLCC kan. Orang kenal Malaysia KLCC, kita nak pergi jual kan. So mungkin tak berlaku lah. Tapi just in case lah, that's going to be a very big transaction afterwards. Tapi kita dalam zaman sekarang ni pun tak tentu kan. Kita kata Proton pun takkan jatuh kepada tangan orang luar dan sebagainya. Tapi in the end, because we need the expertise, we need the investment, kita sold certain share to Geely. So Geely now own 49.9%. DRB Highcom and under Khazanah Malaysia own another 50.1%. Just 0.1% different to make them the majority shareholder. Okay. And then we have to look at the procedure. So procedure, this one is actually a quite bit complex process. So real estate agency practice so might not cover all of this. So you have to look at other courses like property law and introduction to law. Because the procedure involves certain aspects of legality, whereby you deal with solicitor and of course you deal with the land office. Sebab land office ni penting lah, kita nak tahu. Sebab itulah you all banyak belajar mengenai National Land Code. Sebabnya pejabat-pejabat tanah ni dokumen utama kegunaan mereka adalah National Land Code. So dari segi penggunaan National Land Code tu sepatutnya setiap negeri ni lebih kurang sama. Cuma cara dia orang implement tu agak berbeza lah. So kita kena tahu. Sebab tu kita kata you ni pakar di dalam sebuah kawasan setempat. Kalau you buat operasi di Kuala Lumpur, you dah tahu National Land Code, you dah tahu the land office di Kuala Lumpur buat operasi macam mana. Di Selangor macam mana, di Perak macam mana, di Kelantan macam mana. Setiap negeri ni dalam Perlembagaan Persekutuan menguruskan aspek tanah mereka sendiri. So you don't expect the same. Tiba-tiba kata pergi KL, you bayar title search RM50, sampai kat negeri Perak you kena bayar RM150. You marah kat dia, saya bayar kat KL murah je RM50. Kenapa ke Perak RM150? And then orang dia pejabat tanah tu sendiri boleh cakap, suka hati kita lah, kita negeri kita sendiri kan. Land is state matter, land is not federal matter. So you must know about that. Okay. So afterwards is the sale particular and the marketing strategy being chosen. You nak fokus kat mana, ataupun you nak combine semuanya. You nak guna social media, you nak guna physical marketing, you nak guna mouth to mouth marketing, you nak gunakan your networking, kenal orang-orang ataupun yang potential buyer yang banyak duit dan sebagainya, investor. You can propose anything that can help you to sell or dispose of the property. Okay. So the ability to handle sale negotiation, so ini lebih banyak berkaitan dengan diri kita lah. So a good negotiator should have the following. So of course the first and foremost, the high standard of business and a professional ethic. Of course lah, kita ni menjalankan kerja, kata cari makan kan, kita nak cari makan dengan cara yang sah dan sebagainya. Of course kita kena jadi professional, professional dan menunjukkan bahawa estate agent ni semuanya adalah seorang yang profesional, seorang yang berjaya, seorang yang mempunyai standard yang tinggi, bukannya standard jual meniaga tepi jalan. You tak boleh melakukan perkara macam tu lah, sebab dia merendahkan standard. Sebab tu lah you kena ada proper office, yang beroperasi di kawasan komersial, bukan daripada rumah dan sebagainya. So ini menunjukkan bahawa kita ni disegani lah, kita punya profession ni dipandang tinggi. Okay, a good understanding of human nature and good personality. So you kena faham lah, you kena faham kenapa orang ni nak beli rumah. You kena tahu dia punya nature, dia punya kehendak, dia punya agenda tu. You kena baca apa dia punya sebab dia. Sometimes people will straight away say, oh, I want to purchase this house because I want to do investment. Saya tengok ni dekat PJ ni ada peluang buat investment yang besar ni. Saya nak melabur di sini. Ataupun dia kata, saya nak beli rumah dekat Shah Alam ni sebab saya nak duduk di Shah Alam. Saya baru pindah di Shah Alam, saya dapat kerja di Shah Alam, saya nak beli rumah terus di Shah Alam. So you kena tahulah kenapa dia orang ni nak membeli, dan juga kenapa you punya you punya vendor ni nak menjual. Mungkin kerana dia nak pakai duit cepat, mungkin kerana dia rasa maintenance sesebuah property ni terlalu tinggi dan sebagainya. So you kena at least read through the kind of things or reasons why people conduct this transaction. Good personality ni of course lah kan, bukannya penyamun, penyangak, perompak dan sebagainya. Seorang yang tidak ada rekod-rekod jenayah dan sebagainya lah. Itu you kena describe on your own lah, good personality macam mana. Honesty, absolute loyalty to the client and also the employer, towards the vendor. So it's very important lah to be honest. You penting sekali kena jujur dengan diri sendiri dulu. Buat kerja apa sebagainya pun kena jujur dengan diri sendiri. Dan seterusnya jujur dengan you punya client. Okay. Punctuality, ketepatan masa is very important. Kalau kata pukul 8 pagi lah, jangan pukul 10 pagi baru you sampai dan sebagainya. Pakaian pun kenalah smart lah kan. Macam saya kan, tak pernah ni saya datang lecture tiba-tiba pakai t-shirt round neck kan. You pun jadi terkejut kan, apa pesyarah macam ni. Apatah lagi agent. Pesyarah ni at least kita kenal. Pesyarah ni kita kenal, kita jumpa hari-hari sebelum ni lah, sebelum ODL kan. Tapi agent ni kita tak kenal. Kita tiba-tiba jumpa agent, agent ni pakai t-shirt dengan slipper je, naik motor. Motor tu tak apalah, okey lah kan. You bawa Ducati ke Aprilia ke, okey lah, tak ada masalah kan. Tapi pakaian you tu kena mencerminkan lah, mencerminkan bahawa you ni seorang profesional. Okay. And then the ability to feel confident of the vendor and the purchaser. Of course you must look and be confident in the transaction. Ini untuk jadi confident ni penting. Kenapa you mesti kena ada ilmu. Dan of course bila you dah banyak terlibat dalam bisnes ni, when you get more experience, then of course you will have a lot more confidence. Ini saya dah biasa jual ni apartment ni, dah 30 biji apartment saya dah jual before this kan. Of course lah you sangat confident nak jual apartment lagi, banding tiba-tiba you kena jual kilang kan. Tak pernah lah jual kilang kan. Apartment biasa lah kan. Itu benda-benda yang you kena build up You tak boleh datang tiba-tiba kan overconfident. Tak pernah jual kilang, tak pernah jual rumah, tiba-tiba sembang kencang kan. Saya ni apa sangat biasalah dengan KL ni. Tak boleh lah overconfident pula. So you have to slowly build up the confidence. Okay. Patience and ability to handle a problem. Of course, it's very important lah because you are handling people. Nak menguruskan orang ni sebenarnya lebih susah daripada nak menguruskan sekawanan kerbau ataupun lembu. Lembu ni kita bagi tali ataupun kita bagi rotan, kita pukul dia belakang dia tu, dia jalan saja ke depan kan. Kita nak dia ke depan, dia nak river, nak balik kanan. Tapi nak menguruskan orang ni adalah cabaran yang utama lah. Sebab kerenah manusia ni macam-macam. Masa saya praktis dulu pun macam-macam perangai kan. Ada yang suka call tengah-tengah malam, suka-suka hati dia je. Risau. Takut loan tak lepas. Pukul 2 pagi telefon kan, nak buat apa? Bank pun bukannya buka 2 pagi. ATM pun sekarang ni buka sampai pukul 12 tengah malam ni. Pukul 2 pagi nak cocok pun dah tak boleh. Lagi-lagi zaman COVID ni. Tapi sebab manusia kita tak tahulah sikap dia macam mana. So kita kena adalah kesabaran kena menghandle mereka ni. Okay, persistent and determination, tact and discretion. Tact ni maknanya you buat kerja tu tidaklah dengan kecoh kan. You buat kerja ni, you jual satu apartmen harga 50,000, you kecoh macam ayam bertelur riuh sekampung. Cerita kat orang, saya ni buat bagus ni, padahal jual apartmen 50,000 je. Member estate agent lain close transaction property 20 million ringgit, dia diam-diam dia kata ya ke, baguslah kau jual apartmen ni, mesti banyak kau punya fee kan, berapa boleh dapat 2,000 3,000 kan. Okay, banyak lah, bagus lah, very good for you lah kan. Tapi tu dia tak cerita pun yang bahawa dia tu ada transaction lagi besar yang dia dah close. Sebab dia kata tak mau cerita kat orang lah, nanti kan orang tahu aku dapat fee RM500,000. Aku dapat fee RM500,000. Diam-diam sudahlah, tiba-tiba je dah beli kereta Velfire, BMW, beli rumah lagi besar pula kan. Penting lah, buat apa kita nak kecoh-kecoh. Sometimes ni semua benda kita nak share kan dalam Facebook kan. Kalau you perasan, kalau you friend with me in Facebook kan, I tak berapa suka sangat nak share everything lah kan. Private stuff ni semua benda nak share. Beli gelang emas adalah kan cute, comel halus kan, you share kat Facebook kan. Pada orang lain beli gelang emas sauh kapal kan, sauh kapal ni besar kan, anak mami Jarum punya besar tu kan, dia tak ada tunjuk di Facebook kan. Dia takut orang kata dia riak, takabur kan, takut kena ragut, nanti pergi kedai kena ragut dan sebagainya. Sometimes tu lah kita manusia kan, kita ni nak menunjuk kan di Facebook lah kan, media nak menunjuk kan. Ada ke orang post di Facebook hari ni makan nasi dengan ikan kering, belum masuk gaji kan, belum gaji lagi, esok baru gaji, hari ni makan nasi ikan kering. Selalu tak ada lah macam tu. Ada kan, tapi tak banyak lah kan. Mostly yang post apa, hari ni makan Manhattan Fish Market, saya makan fish and chip, saya makan butter prawn. Itu yang biasa kita buat kan. Kita sometimes we want to share our joy, but sometimes they are unfortunate people than us. Dia menimbulkan ira hati je. Kadang-kadang tu kan, kadang-kadang manusia ni lagi suka selidik kan, pakai kereta apa, pakai rumah apa, bini dah berapa. Janganlah bini dah berapa. Bini bukan bini dah berapa, anak dah berapa. Anak seorang ke dua ke, itu tak payah ambil tahu sangatlah. So you must be tact and discreet. Itu dah jauh cerita kan. Tadi kan kita cerita pasal estate agent kan, tapi dah jadi perbincangan pasal manusia. Sebab kita ni manusia lah. Agent pun manusia juga. Tapi kita kenalah kurangkanlah perkara-perkara tersebut. Okay. So the ability to see hidden mind and goal of purchaser vendor, ini macam saya cakap sebelum ni lah. Agenda tersembunyi dia. Apa agenda dia? Kita kena tahu. Manusia ni semuanya kebanyakannya ada agenda lah. Kita ni sendiri pun ada agenda kan. Kita datang dengan lecture, agendanya kita nak attendance, kita nak lulus, kita nak lulus dengan cemerlang. Semuanya ada agenda. Hatta kita pergi kedai roncet pun kita ada agenda dah. Agenda dia kita nak beli tepung. Sebab tepung kat rumah dapur dah habis. Dapur dah tepung dah habis, tak boleh nak buat kuih. Tak boleh nak buat kuih. Nanti nak raya nak buat kuih tak boleh, tepung tak ada. Tu agenda dia lah. Sama jugalah macam potential buyer and potential seller. So potential seller agenda dia of course lah dia nak dapatkan duit. Potential buyer agenda dia nakkan property. Itulah agenda dia. Itu yang tersembunyi. Yang jelas. Tapi agenda-agenda yang lain tu kenalah selidik juga. Okay. And of course lastly is the self-control with the ability to work clearly and rapidly under pressure. So dalam profession kita lah, tak kisahlah profession apa sekalipun, dia akan sentiasa akan bekerja dalam tekanan. Dalam profession agency ni tekanan dia adalah untuk mencari potential buyer secepat mungkin, untuk close the transaction secepat mungkin. Sebab lagi lama you drag the transaction, lagi lama you tak akan dapat you punya agency fee. Agency fee ni kita boleh dapat bila dah sign SMP. Bila dah sign SMP tu insya-Allah baru kita boleh start claim. Tapi kebanyakannya dapat SMP, dapat claim tu betul-betul lepas nama dalam land title tersebut dah pun ditukarkan. Sebab tu kena melakukan kerja tu dengan pantas dan efisien. Buat kerja tu dengan baik, dengan profesional. Semua perkara-perkara yang saya rasa you kena praktiskan lah. Daripada sekarang. Bukan masa dah kerja nanti. Dah kerja baru nak jadi profesional, baru nak apa tak. Kalau you start from now, you change from now, then of course you have already familiarized yourself with all of the professionalism, the ethics. Sebab tu kita di UiTM, kita pastikan you sentiasa dalam keadaan profesional. Hari Isnin kena pakai corporate, baju korporat, baju yang smart dan sebagainya. You kena ikut sasiah rupa diri sebagainya. Sebab kita nak mengajar anda semua adalah menjadi orang yang profesional dan disegani. Kita tak mahu para pelajar dan juga para graduan kita apabila keluar mencerminkan universiti kita semula. Nanti orang akan kata, oh macam ni ke graduan UiTM? Datang kerja lambat, buat transaksi harta tanah, entah apa-apa, tak tahu apa-apa langsung. Kita tak mahu macam tu. Kita nak orang kata graduan UiTM. UiTM kita mesti ambil bekerja. UiTM, boleh percaya punya ni graduan UiTM. Siapa pesyarah you dulu? Saya tanya lagi kan. Siapa pesyarah you dulu? Dia datang balik pada tu ke? You perasan tak pergi mana-mana? You bawa nama universiti and then dia tanya, siapa pesyarah you dulu? Pesyarah you ni Dr. Zaki. Dr. Zaki kan, bukan Dr. Helmi kan. Dr. Zaki. I know him, is very good. Okay. Then datang balik, you bawa nama. So you bear in mind about all of those things. Then of course, insya-Allah kerjaya you di masa hadapan akan menjadi lebih baik. Okay, so with that, I think that's about it for today. And hari ni banyak sikit lecture kan, lama sikit kan. Lama tak jumpa you all. Okay, with that, I end the lecture with wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.